This demo is about ServiceDesk Plus version 9.0. You need a complete tool that is thoughtfully built to achieve all your needs of an IT environment. We have this ServiceDesk Plus software, which is an IT help desk software integrated with asset and project management, and it's built in over the best practices of ITIL framework. ServiceDesk Plus has been adopted by 83,000 organizations in 186 countries, and it's available in 29 different languages. ServiceDesk Plus is designed to cater to all business needs with 3 different editions. 1. Standard Edition. 2. Professional Edition. 3. Enterprise Edition. ServiceDesk Plus Standard Edition is free on both on-premise and on-demand models. We could say we are the first vendors to make the Help Desk module completely free, thereby changing the IT landscape. Growing in, businesses need to maintain their assets effectively. So in our ServiceDesk Plus Professional Edition has integrated with asset management, using which you can discover all your assets and manage them effectively. Enterprise Edition includes the Professional Edition plus the complete suite of IT service management built over the best practices of ITIL Ready framework. It has the most essential features like 1. Incident management. 2. Problem management. 3. Change management. 4. Service catalog. And 5. CMDB. In bigger infrastructure, you have people, process, and product, and you need to align them to manage your IT effectively. So this first process is to import the people into your organization, which is quite a complex process, but in ServiceDesk Plus is easy. There are 4 different ways in which you can import users into the application. 1 is AD import for Windows users, LDAP import for non-Windows Linux users, CSV import, or you can do it manually. So let me explain to you the AD import process. Firstly, you need to go to Windows Domain Scan and add your domain name. You need to also add the domain controller, login name, and password for the domain, and save these credentials. Now, go to the Admin tab, Active Directory, and click on Import Requesters from Active Directory. Then, select the domain controller from the list view, which will update domain controller and its credentials. While importing, you can also import their details like phone, department, job title, mobile, site, name, email address. Additional fields can be imported into ServiceDesk, and this can be done heading over to the Admin tab and User Additional Fields. You could add your additional fields, for example, the employee ID. Now, I go back to Active Directory and click on Import Requesters from Active Directory. And as you can see, that employee ID is added in the Import page where I can define my attributes, which are defined in my Active Directory. And I can import now. Using this, it will take you to the Active Directory page. You can list to know the AD structure. From that, you can select the respective OUs, which you want the users to be imported. Once they are successfully imported, you can find them in the requesters list. You can also schedule the AD import process to run once in N days, which you mention here, and you can save the schedule. Using this, you can also allow your users to use the Active Directory authentication by selecting this Enable button. So you don't have to remember the new password for ServiceDesk. Instead, you can use AD credentials for ServiceDesk Plus as well. The pass-through authentication will help you enabling the automatic login by skipping the login page. Once they are imported, you could find them under the requesters list. So all this users will be listed here, and you can convert some of them as technicians by clicking on their profile and change them as technicians. I'm converting a user to technician here. For that, I need to put login details, and I can also assign a role to him based on his expertise. We have now successfully imported users and converted some of them into technicians. We can assign a role to the technicians based on their profile and their knowledge of individual module they are going to work on. Clicking on the roles, we can see some default roles like AE Remote Control, Enable CMDB, etc. The most privileged account in ServiceDesk is the SD Admin, which will give admin privilege to a technician. SD Site Admin role will enable the technician with complete access. For the coordinator who is going to assign jobs, can be assigned with coordinator roles. You can also create n number of custom roles. Just fill in role name and description, and select modules we want to give control to the technician. We can also give advanced permissions as shown here. We can also assign what our technician is allowed to view. All these can be customized, and we can have this. If you go to the technician's profile, you can see the role you just created. And you can assign multiple roles to the technician. Technician's privilege can be restricted based on the roles assigned. Let's look at this from the requester's perspective of viewing the application. Logging as a guest now. So this is how application looks to a requester. We have a Home tab, Request tab, and Solutions for that. We can see some popular solutions listed here. The most common issues in the environment are listed here. People can raise requests in multiple ways. By logging into Portal, I can click on Requests. Then I can click on New Issue and raise a new request. Similarly, I can also give a phone call to a technician who will raise a request on my behalf. Also, we can send an email to ServiceDesk Plus from unique mailbox of ServiceDesk, where any incoming mail will be converted into request. And that I can define under the Mail Server settings. Go to Admin tab and Mail Server settings. I could define the Exchange server details, server names, and other details including email type. Currently, we support POP, IMAP, POP, and IMAP. And then we can save that. Similarly, I can define my outgoing mail service, where I can send mail from ServiceDesk Plus to other mailboxes. Spam filter. Spam filter will filter out some emails which I do not want to be fetched in. For example, if you don't want mails from Postmaster, you can set the filter and add rule and save. All the emails in the inbox will be converted into request, and it will choose the default template. While actually defining an issue to ServiceDesk Plus mailbox, we can mention some of the fields to be shown by putting it under the delimiter. For example, under the email command, we have a setting called category, which is put under a default delimiter @, which defines that the emails will be converted into request and will be put under category printer. Let's look at some templates for individual requests. An incoming email will always choose the ServiceDesk Plus default template. This template is completely customizable. You can set up templates for frequently raised issues, so when a request mail will be raised, the fields will be automatically filled up. We can create n number of templates by clicking on Add New Template. Let us create a new template with the name Mouse Not Working. We can define fields as mandatory, set urgency and priority levels. We can make this template visible only to admin department by defining user group for the template, so all the other users cannot use this template. We can You can also add new fields in the template, text numeric, or even date time. All these template field values can be customized under your Help Desk Customizer. I have category. You can classify different types of requests into different categories. Example: all requests for installing software can be classified under the category Software Installation. Also, hierarchy of category to subcategory to item is supported, using which the type of the incident can be granularly categorized. By using different categories, you can configure the application to automatically route cases to the appropriate technician. As an example, all internet connectivity-related issues could be automatically assigned to your network engineer. You can assign a technician into a category by clicking on Edit button. For example, desktop hardware issue can be assigned to a particular technician. Let's take a look at the category Tree View, where we can see the complete hierarchy based on individual categories. We can add n number of categories or subcategories or items. I can also do a CSV import for importing respective fields. Next is status. Request status indicates the level of progress of a request, based on which any action can be taken to resolve the request and close the same. Requests can be grouped under various statuses, which helps in proper organization of requests and hence reduces the complexity. We can add n number of status by clicking on Add New Status and filling up the fields as required. Can also select color code. Next is level. Request level indicates the complexity of a request. This helps in the proper assignment of requests to the corresponding technicians. Levels can be categorized based on the nature of complexity of request, and therefore can be assigned to relevant technician. Like Tier 1 level request or low complexity request can be assigned to less experienced technician, and so on. Next is mode. Mode is a way of creating a request. Like we said, we can allow users to create requests through email, or logging into web portal and raising a request through web form, or even giving a phone call to a technician who raises a request on behalf of user. You can also add new mode by clicking on Add New Mode. Next is impact. Impact indicates the business criticality of an incident or a problem towards the business. Impact is often measured by the number of people or systems affected. By default, you have 4 impact details listed in the list view. We can edit the default impact settings, or we can add more impact. Next is urgency. Urgency is about the required speed of solving an incident of a certain impact. By default, you have 4 urgency details listed in this page, and you can always add a new urgency category: high, low, medium. Next is priority. Priority associated to the request implies the importance that it is to be given to the request. Higher the priority, the more important the request is. To add a new priority, click the Add New Priority and Add Details. Next is Priority Matrix. The Priority Matrix helps you determine the priority automatically based on impact and urgency of a request. When a request's impact as well as the urgency is high, you can set the priority for that request as high. Similarly, you can set priorities for other requests. After you set a priority matrix, the request coming in with high impact and high urgency will automatically go to high priority. You can also allow requester and technician to override the matrix. Then we have request type. Request type enables you to configure the types of requests other than the default options, such as incident, service request, and so on, using this option. This is essential while creating a new request under the Request module. You also do have an option to add a new request type on the right-hand side corner of the requester page. Request closure code states that the reason behind closing the request by the technician. It also denotes whether the request was closed successfully, unsuccessfully, canceled, and so on. In addition, comments can be provided to give a detailed explanation for closing the requests. The configured request closure code list appears while closing the request, and the data entered is viewed in the request details page. And you can always add a new closure code. Next is request closing rules. This can be used to select the mandatory fields to be filled in by the technicians while closing the requests. For example, we can update mode before closing the request. Similarly, we can update the other fields. We can also use it to confirm user acknowledgement to the technician and set a prompting message for the same. We can move the request status to closed when all the associated tasks are closed. And of course, the request can be closed manually or automatically. Next is incident, additional fields. Here, we can add template additional fields to display in the new incident form apart from the preset fields. We could add a text field, numeric field, date and time field, and even a decimal field. Next is incident templates, where we can see our default templates. And as described earlier, we can add new templates. Then we have resolution template. Most of the time, technicians have repeated requests with the same solution. We can create a resolution template for those requests. The solutions of frequently raised requests, such as printer configuration, can be made into a resolution template. Thus, the technicians need not type the same resolution repeatedly for the request raised. Next is reply template. While replying to requests, technicians generally type the same response again and again to many requests. With reply template, technicians can create templates for the repetitive response to requests, thus saving time and easing their work. Then we have task types. Task types creates a category for similar tasks. For example, tasks related to troubleshooting of various kinds can be grouped under task type troubleshooting, such as task categorization helps create request, problem, change, and project-specific task types, which can be used to categorize tasks as and when they are created, making them more granular. Next is task template. Certain tasks need to be repeated by the technician for different users and scenarios. With task template, technicians can add repeated tasks easily. You can add new task template by clicking Add New and can be associated to requests. Let us now look at the service dialog. Service dialog is where you can portray the wide range of services offered by your IT department to the end users. Some of the most common day-to-day IT services required by the users are installation, relocation, internet access, email access, provision of hardware, software, and so on. These services are grouped under service categories with an icon to depict its uniqueness. I can create a new service category, say new joinee for example. So this is my new service category. To this, I can add n number of services, for example, an AD account, email account, and so on. So, for a new joinee, the associated services like allotment of a VIA phone, etc., are created and assigned to a technician. You can also define your own workflow for this by giving stage-level approvals. You can include people whom the approvals are to be sent. You can define SLA. Since this is a new one, I can predefine my SLA. And I can also request tasks to the service request. Say I want to add another account under a VIA ID. I don't have to create that as a new service. Instead, I'll add that as a task and associate it to the task technician. Requesters can raise their service request by logging into Portal and then go to Request Catalog and click on the template. So I am going to Request Profile and select from drop-down either Incident Service Request or just Service Request or even just Incident Request. The hierarchy of ServiceDesk Plus is such that it starts with regions and then sites. In other sites, you have technicians separated as support groups, and in another site, you have requesters into user groups. For example, say you have 3 offices in US, 1 in Hawaii, and 1 in India. Now, suppose your network in US region includes offices in New York, Connecticut, and Washington, and your Indian office is in Chennai. In US, I'm going to follow same set of holidays, the operational hours, the business workflows, etc. In Hawaii, it will be slightly different, but in Chennai, I follow a completely different set of time zone, holidays, operational hours, and the business workflows. In such a case, when I try to add new site, you can see 3 different settings: copy default, refer default, and custom settings. I don't have to do the 3 different settings for US regions. Instead, I do for one refer default setting and associate those 3 regions and refer default setting. For example, I am following refer default for New York. Again, the same thing for Connecticut. Also, creating the same for Washington. But for Hawaii, since the settings are slightly different, I won't choose that refer default setting, but I'll copy the default settings and make little changes. But in Chennai, it's going to be a completely new set of information, so I'll make that as a custom setting. So, all the configurations like operational hours, holidays, etc. will have a different setting for Chennai. Let us set the operational hours. You can either set the operational hours round the clock or set a particular timing. Also, you can add your working days of the week, and we save this info under default settings. For Hawaii operational hours setting, I might set the same timings, but when I might work on Saturdays, so I will leave that. Now I'll set for Chennai, where I work round the clock and I work all 7 days. So this is how I configure operational hours for each and individual site. Next is holidays. If I select Chennai, I can configure holidays based on Chennai. But if I select default setting, I can configure holidays based on 3 cities of US. If it's a recurring holiday, that is, holiday that comes every year, I can mention the date and I can check on recurring holiday. Then we have departments. You can add n number of various departments to the respective sites. Next is business rules. Business rules helps you to organize all the incoming requests and perform actions such as delivering them to groups, assigning status, and other request parameters. The business rule can be applied to a request when it is created or received, edited, or both. Notification can also be sent to the technicians once the business rule is executed. The business rules are site-specific. Hence, to view the business rules of a site, you'll have to select the particular site. For example, I create a rule called Hardware Dispatch. Under Business's rule criteria, the category is Desktop Hardware. It's CC'd to Network Support, and the subject contains System Crashed. It will be placed in a group called Hardware Problems. This will be associated with the technician who belongs to this group. This helps in coordinating jobs without having to look and read all the incoming requests and assign requests. This way, you can reduce the time and answer the request quickly. This also helps in sending out notification every time a request is executed. You can also allow SMS notification for technicians. You can set the execution timer based on the creation process and time within or outside operational hours. Next is service level agreements. SLAs are applied automatically to incidents based on certain criteria which you can define. SLAs can be defined for each individual, department, or workstations of a site. If an SLA request is not governed in a given time frame, then you can enable the escalation. For example, I create a new SLA called High SLA. The priority of this SLA is set to high. I can define the time within which this SLA has to be responded and resolved. Say it has to be responded in next 15 minutes, and it has to be resolved in next 4 hours. If you want these timings to be strictly followed, irrespective of holiday or weekend, you can check those boxes. If the requester fails to receive any response from the technician, the SLA can be escalated to a senior technician, say administrator. You can set timings to notify concerned person and escalate to further levels if the SLA is not resolved in given time frame. We can escalate it up to 4 levels. Next is notification rules. You can set notification rules for requester and technician. These notifications can be 2 types, email and SMS. It can be set across various modes of applications, such as request, problem, change, and solution modules. Let's go to notification rules. Here, we have requester's notification, technician's notification. I can customize each and every notification, and I can add any field I want to show in an email reply. So all these can be customized and saved. Solutions. Before a requester raises a request, they can take a look at Solutions module, using which they can get known answers for the common issues faced in the environment. ManageEngine ServiceDesk Plus application provides a facility to record the solutions for the received requests. The recorded solutions function as a knowledge base of solutions. Thus, when you receive a request, refer to the recorded solutions and solve it. This reduces the turnaround time in attending to the requests generated by the requesters and closing the same. All requesters and technicians who have permissions to view the Solutions module can access this section of the application. The ServiceDesk Plus administrator can assign access privileges to the various technicians for the Solutions section. This access privilege can vary from just view-only privilege to full control privilege. For setting the access privileges to technicians, refer to the Configuring Technicians and Configuring Roles sections. Moreover, new technicians joining the organization can browse through these recorded solutions to have an idea of the frequently resolved problems. You can access the approved solutions even without logging into the application, but will be able to view only those solutions that are published in the self-service portal. Next, we will go to problem management. A problem is an unknown underlying cause of one or more incidents. So let's create a new problem by creating an incident which doesn't have a solution. For example, RCA or root cause analysis of application crash issue. We can set the impact, urgency, and priority of this problem. Also, we can set the category subcategory for this and save the problem. Under Problem, we have Analysis. Under Analysis, I could see the impact details, root cause, and we can add the symptoms which we found during the analysis, using which I can find a workaround or even a solution. Solutions which are added here can be directly added to the Solutions module. We can add some tasks, and that can be associated with task technicians. Under Incidents, we can relate the problem caused by a particular incident. I can click on Attach. I can see a list of default incidents which have the solutions. So this is how I manage my problem management. Let us now go to New Change Management, which we released with ServiceDesk Plus 9.0. It is a complete revamp of the existing change management. The change is initiated by creating a change request, entering values in the defined fields available in the change form, and assigning it to the change technician. Currently, the new change management has new 6 stages, which is going to be default changes in your environment. All the stages go through several statuses before reaching completion. Features of this change module are a 6-stage change lifecycle, workflow configuration for each and every change stage, change templates for designing the change as per your requirements, change progress indicator indicating stage-to-stage progress of change, emergency workflow for changes with pressing urgency or deadlines. Well-planned change role system are introduced in the new change management system. Let's click on an existing change. As you can see, there are 6 different stages: submission, planning, approval, implementation, review, and close. Each stage can have different statuses. Like under submission, I can have status saying submit for authorization, requested, or requested for information. This arrow here denotes the current status of my change. Depending upon the actions taken by administrator here, who has been assigned the role of change manager, change can move into planning stage. Under planning, I can see a list of impacts which are going under analysis of the change. Also the rollout plan, even the backout plan, the checklist before I can start this. And I can mention the downtime if it's going to be any server migration or an Exchange server, for which I can schedule the maintenance time and inform people about it. Then it goes for approval. Under approval stage, we have CAB recommendation involved. We can still add more CAB members from the list view. I can also add the CAB member from the Admin tab, CAB members, new CAB member, and finally, Add. CAB member can be a technician as well as a user. So, based on CAB member's suggestion, the change manager will then decide on the status of change, followed by implementation. Under implementation, I can carry out whole change management through a project. For example, if it is going to be a data center migration, which is going to be a complex process, and it requires multiple people to be involved to carry out each and every single task. So I may not carry it out as a single change, but instead, I can associate this as a project and involve multiple people, and I can split up the whole process into small tasks and assign users to it. So all these can be done under implementation through a project, and then I can review the whole change and close the change request. On reviewing the complete change, finally, I can close my change request by mentioning the closure code and looking at the approval summary. Under History, we can look at the list of things happened through the stages of change. Each and every stage can be split into statuses. Under Submission, I can have various statuses like accepted, rejected, requested, requested for information, and submitted for authorization. You can still add more statuses for individual stages. I can assign a name for status, and I can also set a person whom I want to notify about the status. Similarly, under each and every stage, we have several statuses, which will give more detailed information about individual status of a request. Under Change Workflow, I can create my own workflow for the change I'm going to handle. It may be emergency workflow or a general workflow. I can still add more workflows. Before going into this further, let us quickly understand the change template and come back. Previously, we didn't have the multiple templates for change request, but in our latest version, we brought in this feature. We can now add n number of change templates, like emergency template, where you can skip multiple processes and directly go to respective module, or add as a default one. I can also define different fields. Just click on Cross to remove a field, or drag and drop to add a field. All these are customizable. Getting back to change workflow. How do you want to carry out a change using your own workflow? For emergency workflow, you can configure skipping many processes and directly going to implementation part, where you can notify people about the status, and then you can move to the next level. Or you can configure this stage further. You can also add people who you want to be notified. So using this workflow, I can have my own change and follow my workflow for each and individual change. When I initiate a new change, I choose a template and the workflow, and I'm directly going to handle in the way I configure. I can add more fields through Change Additional Fields here. Then we have change roles. A role can be assigned to multiple people, who could be a requester or a technician. I can edit the change roles like Change Approver, Line Reviewer, Implementer, Change Manager, and so on. These are the predefined roles. For example, Change Manager can only be assigned to a technician. Even a change owner can be assigned to a technician. Change Requester can be a requester or a technician. Each and every role can be customized. Edit permissions are provided based on the technician's privileges. We can also add more role to the Change Role section. Then, we have a closure code for individual changes. We have approved, canceled, completed, deferred, and rejected. You can also add more closure codes by clicking on Add button. Similarly, for problem management, you can use problem closure codes. Under Change Old Status, you can see the old statuses during the problem to change management. These are the default status which cannot be deleted, but you can modify it. Let's go to the Change Type section. Here we can define the significance of change initiated in the organization. Certain change requests may be trivial and may not require an approval process. For such change requests, you have an option to mark the change type as pre-approved. Also, you can denote the severity of a change type with a color code. Then we have risk. Here you can define the risk involved in doing the change, whether the risk is high, low, or medium. Then you can also mention the reason for change, where the possible reason could be the application is crashing, where you don't have to go search for different product. The reason might also be a hardware failure, which requires a replacement of hardware. thus making a change in environment. So this was about the new change management in ServiceDesk Plus 9.0. Now, let's go to project management, which we released in the version 8.2. Let's click on the New Project. You can see the milestones, tasks, timesheet, members, Gantt view, comments, and history. Clicking here, I can take a look at a project overview map, where I can see the project and my milestones, 1, 2, 3, 4, and under milestones. I have various tasks. Under the Gantt view, I can take a look at the current status of my project. I can define it based on members or tasks. Complete a task for a particular time and a particular task. I can add people into this project management by going to the Add Member and pick up the users from the list. And I can assign role to them, or just go to their profile and give a different role. So this defines the user, can be imported into the project, and can be assigned a different role. You can take a look at individual tasks and milestones associated, and then they start working on this. For my Gantt view, I can list the default users which I imported, and the works that are assigned to them, so I can assign different tasks to the available resources. Let us now look at the CMDB module. Configuration Management Database, CMDB, is a centralized repository that stores relevant information about all the significant entities in your IT environment. The entities, termed as configuration items, CIs, constitutes of hardware, the installed software applications, documents, business services, and people that are part of your IT system. Unlike the asset database that comprises a bunch of CIs, the CMDB is designed to support a vast IT structure where the interrelation between these CIs are maintained and supported successfully. Each CI within the CMDB is grouped under specific CI types and is represented with attributes and relationships. The list which I am looking at on my left pane are my CI types, and under CI Business Service, I have CI called Sales Service and Support Service. For example, say this backup server is going to be replaced. So I need to understand the relationship associated with this asset. As you can see, this is the backup server of Server 1, which is currently associated with multiple CIs. Server 1 is the member of Network 1 and is managed by Technician Hosting Tech 1 and is hosted on the self-service. And it depends on multiple routers and is connected to an access point. Clicking here, we'll have a better view of the map. Using this, I can now get to know the impact analysis on replacing this Server 1. This gives you a better idea who all are going to be affected by removing of Server 1. By clicking on Server 1, I can have details of this server with other CIs. The History button will give the history of Workstation. Attributes are data elements, which describe the characteristics of individual CIs under a CI type. For instance, the attributes for CI type server would be model, service tag, processor name, and so on. Relationships denote the link between two CIs that identifies the dependency or connection between them. So before we begin populating the CIs into the CMDB, we need to set the CMDB configurations in the Admin tab. So here's the configuration items, so you can find list of CI types, which we have added like Access Point, Business Service, etc., to Windows Workstation. These are my CI types. I can go into the Access Point and add new type under the Access Point. Even I can add a new CI type. It may be a new CI or under a parent CI type of firewall. I can add default system attributes, or I can add single line, multi-line, etc. fields to the CI type. Under relationship types, I can have the types like depends on and inverse relationship type like used by. Say for example, type runs an inverse type on runs on. So server runs a software called Adobe. Adobe software runs on server workstation. So this is how you configure CI type and relationship type under CMDB module of ServiceDesk Plus. CMDB is so well connected with incident, problem, and change that you can easily use to understand impact analysis to find out which asset failed and come to the root cause of the problem. Here we see an incident which says not able to connect, and I see the assets associated with this incident, that is abc.swansole.com. I click on that and I see the problem attached to this incident. Due to this problem, I see a change being initiated, and I go ahead and view the associated change. Now, when I go ahead and see the assets involved in relationship map, I hover over my CI, and I get to see the complete history of incidents, problems, and changes, along with other details, and thereby I can drill down to perform impact and root cause analysis. Then we have asset management. ManageEngine ServiceDesk Plus helps to manage all your IT and non-IT assets. You can track and manage ownership of IT, non-IT, and asset components. Also, we have software asset management, IT and non-IT asset management. ServiceDesk Plus helps you manage IT assets such as workstations, switches, routers, printers, and access points. Non-IT assets such as basic fixtures, furniture, chairs, tables, projectors, and desk phones. Asset components such as keyboards, mouse, and even your printer inks. Software asset management includes software license management, software metering, and software compliance. So under the software asset management, we have a scan summary which will give you the total count of workstations and servers which are connected in your network. If the scan is successful, those will be added under inventories, and those are failed will be listed under the failed section. We can also scan SNMP devices and non-Windows devices as well. You can use our ServiceDesk Plus agent, which will be an MSA file, which is only for Windows machines, which will scan the computer and push the data to the application server. For all other SMP devices, you could choose the network scan. Anyway, it has the IP address. You can define your own range, giving it under Admin tab Network Scan. Under Network Scan, I can give my network range as an entire network, or it could be an IP address. I can define my range here. Under Configure Credentials, I can use different type of credentials under Scan Type for Windows, for Mac, for SNMP, or even for VMware. I can use different set of credentials for different scans. I can add credential from here. I can mention the credential type as Windows and name it Scan for Windows, and putting domain name and password, I save the credential. Using this, I can scan my Windows, Mac, or SNMP devices on one single network scan. We can also go for Windows Domain Scan, where I can define the domain details, and then I'll select the Scan button, which will scan my whole network. Next, we go for Distributed Asset Scan. Say, for example, one of your site is located in a different geographical location, where you don't have the network connectivity to scan your assets. In such situations, you can download the software in the remote location, which will help you scan the individual assets in that site, and that data can be imported to the central server. So here, you can browse the file and import the data you have called in from a remote site. You can also know the complete detail about the asset on your remote site. Then we have remote control tools. If you have the ServiceDesk Plus installed on workstations, then you can use our ServiceDesk Plus agents to take a remote control. And if you want to take the same service desk to search in the remote desktop, you can predefine the desktop control by giving its credentials, and our application will also go with VNC or even Dameware, or you can even add a new tool to the tool list. In ServiceDesk Plus 9.0, we have completely revamped the software license management. With the Software tab, you can configure all the software-related tasks such as software types, software license types, additional fields, and license agreements. In software types, we have managed, prohibited, even expired types, and you can also create custom types and associate to the respective softwares which are scanned through the workstations. Under Software Summary, we have the list of software dashboards, which gives information about the softwares which are populated from the scan. You can list them based on manufacturer or even based on sites. In license agreements, you can list the agreements for individual software based on manufacturer. Days on when it is going to expire, and how many days to hit the expire stage and filter it based on the filter views. You can always add additional license agreements to softwares. Then we have Software License Management, where we can add a standard software license or an upgrade license. So for example, I'm going to upgrade Office to 2003 from 2000. If you have purchased licenses for 2003, then you can add it here. Then I can say that I'm using the same license which I have bought it for 2000 can be applied as an upgrade license, which is 2003. Let's move on to the purchase management. The purchase module streamlines the procurement of required components and allows you to add them as unassigned assets. The purchase module is tightly integrated with the inventory. You can configure the vendor-related information and the products supplied by those vendors and their price quotes in ServiceDesk Plus. This information helps in making the choice of vendors while generating the purchase order, PO, by comparing the pricing of each vendor. The purchase process starts with a purchase request and is completed when the requested component or item has been purchased and reaches the requester of the purchase request. Let's see the flow under Purchase Management, which we usually follow for all the purchases which we handle in ServiceDesk Plus. So now you create a new PO and submit that to approval. Approval may be approved or rejected. So once it's approved, it goes into the next stage called Order, And maybe you have ordered 20 different workstations, but only the first 10 might have been delivered. So once you receive the complete 20, you will move that into the received state, and then you will pass down to the invoice. Later, on your review, the invoice and make the payment. Once the payment is done, the PO is closed. This is how the purchase management flow looks like. You will choose the respective vendor whom you do want to ship to and fill in the current billing address, what product type you want to purchase. Product type can be added here directly. May say I will add a projector, Dell projector, so I'm going to add 10 and tell the price, and even I can also mention the tax rates, quantity, the subtotal, discounts, if any shipping tasks, sales, etc. can be customized, which you can be found from the admin type. Fill in all the details and save the purchase order. This will send notification to the PO approvers, who are notified for the PO order and will have current status called pending approval. Once the approver approves the purchase request, it will go to the next level based on the approved privileges given by the approver and proceed on to the invoice and payment. If you have any request to be associated, you can associate. That may be a service request, a requester asking for a new Mac machine. You can raise a new service order and associate a service request to it. In the History tab, you can have the list of timings what actually was changed. All of it would be recorded here. So let's move on to the contract management. Every organization would maintain an annual maintenance contract with third-party vendors to maintain its infrastructure and function without any major downtime due to bad maintenance of the assets owned by it. ManageEngine ServiceDesk Plus gives you a provision to track such contract details, its date of commencement and date of expiry, alert you with a reminder in advance about the expiry of the contract, the cost incurred for the purchase, and renewal of the contract, the kind of maintenance support provided by the third-party vendor, and the third-party vendor name with whom the contract has been signed. Any other related documents to the contract can also be maintained along with these details as attachments to the existing contract. So I'm clicking on the new contract where I can mention the name of the contract, and type of a contract says it's going to be a maintenance contract, and I would choose the vendor and name the contract as Vendor 1. You can add the assets for this contract and add the active period, maybe for a year. Using the notification rules, I can notify the people of this contract expiry. You can also specify email IDs to be notified before the contract expiry. Say before how many days you want the notification to be sent can be set like 4 days or 2 days or 1 day before the expiry date of the contract, and can maintain the contract effectively. And if you have any child contracts, this is also listed here. Renewal details can be seen in the Renewal Details section. You can also associate child contracts. Using the Actions menu, you can have any contract for renewal, attach documents, see the print preview, or even email the owner of the vendor. Under the admin configurations for the purchase and contract management, you can see purchase additional fields, set the purchase default values, the cost center, GL code, and even the contract type all can be defined in this section. Notification rules can set here. You can enable customize the template. Then we have user survey. Whenever a request is closed, you can set up a survey for maintaining and calculating the support provided for the individual request. so the survey can be enabled and the details can be customized. This survey can also be scheduled and survey can be made to send when a request is closed, or say a desired number of requests or closed, or even a count of requests from a requester is closed. You can define the survey, set up satisfactory levels, and also translate the survey in different languages. You can always see the preview of how the survey is going to look. Results of the survey can be viewed from Survey Results. Under General, we have the Self-Service Portal settings, which will have settings to configure. You can configure the self-service settings or even change the general settings, like setting the default currency, the currency symbol, default language you will be going to support, start day of the week, and much more. You can also change the logo image and the company image and set it to according to your preferences, as you see on the top left corner of the application. Theme. Yes, you can customize the color however you want. Choose from default colors or set your own custom color. Next we see here is backup scheduling. As the name states, you can schedule your backup to run every 3 or 5 days or so on. In case of a backup failure, you can choose to notify the personnel. You have the options to select the type of backup, whether it's only a database or even file attachments too. Next is data archiving. Archiving is nothing but purging of the requests. You do not want to store the request which was created 4 years back. Instead, the important request can be stored into a separate folder, thereby increasing the efficiency of the system. This archiving actually reduces the load on the database and speeds up the application. You can archive requests matching a particular condition and also set exceptions for not archiving. With the API, you can integrate various applications and facilitate the sharing of data. With these API, ServiceDesk Plus operations can be accessed from other applications or web services. You can have the option to create your own web form using the API. ServiceDesk Plus supports 2 types of APIs, Servlet and REST API. ServiceDesk Plus supports API through HTTP protocol for performing request operations. The operations performed with REST API are based on the operation parameter set along with the URL via HTTP POST method. So you can change the attributes for request, site, technician, requester, or even asset. Along with the existing Servlet API, application also supports the REST pattern. Here is the syntax. You can take a look into it. You can change the parameters, add notes, work log, CMDB, or even change. Desktop Central Integration Server Settings. DC is web-based patch and mobile device management software from ManageEngine. You can integrate ServiceDesk Plus with ManageEngine Desktop Central to manage all your desktop and mobile device management functions. Desktop Central automates desktop management activities like installing patches, deploying software, remote control, initiating chat, securing the client computers, applying USB usage restrictions, and much more. It also enables managing mobile devices with profile management, app management, security management, as well as asset management. If you have installed both these products, you just have to provide the details of the computer where Desktop Central is installed along with its port number and you are good to go. Next is translations. In some languages, requests are called as tickets. So you can replace requests with tickets and personalize the application by modifying any text displayed to suit your organization needs. Once you are done with the changes, you will need to restart your server to see the changes take effect. Lastly, we come to Reports module. Reporting has been one of the stronger features. We have close to 150 predefined reports defined for each and every module, say incident, problem, change, asset, CMDB, and much more. If you want a custom report, then you can do so by selecting the New Custom Report button. Once you select that, choose the module you want the report and what type of report, say a tabular one or a matrix one or summary or even audit report. Let's say we want a matrix report of all the requests category on the left and technician on the right. So how many requests have been carried out and all the data can be reviewed. You can export this report either in HTML or XLS or CSV or PDF. Give a name for Technician Monthly Performance and save this under My Reports. I can schedule my reports, can have a daily, weekly, or even monthly or even one-time report to be generated on the particular date and time. You can choose the report to schedule and the format you want it to be exported in. You can specify whom to send the report to via filing the email IDs and message. I'm creating one more report this time. I will choose Request module, and I will select Tabular Report and All Requests. I will choose the display columns and set my filter options. Select the columns to group. You can group and order by columns you desire. Select the summary type as well as the type of the chart you want the report to be displayed. And there you go, and you can get the desired report within few steps. You can now either save the report, see the query, or even mail this report. It's very easy to get a report run within a matter of a few clicks. Let's say I run some reports on software. Software by category. I run this report. Go back, software by manufacturer, or even let's say purchased orders sorted by vendors. I can also run reports like SLA violations by group or department, or even report on problems by priority. Add these reports into my dashboard so that I'm always aware of the violations. More custom reports can be created based on the needs. Finally, we have the Support tab, where you can request support, submit testimonials, create support file, and submit to our support team for analysis. In case you wish to have a new feature, you request the feature from Need Features tab. See the known issues which is happening in ServiceDesk Plus, or even generate a thread dump based on the requirement of the support team. System Log Viewer tracks everything you do and logs it, so you know who did what in which module, at what time, etc. Dashboard is visual display of real-time information, consolidated and arranged in a single view, so that it's easily monitored. Dashboard will display various statistical data based on sites and the technician configured to that site. We have 3 tabs in Dashboard, namely Help Desk, Problems, and Change and Assets. Under Help Desk, we have matrix output of requests by technician, request summary, the task summary, open request by priority, SLA violation bar chart, unassigned/open requests, requests which are closely approaching the SLA, etc. can be seen. Similarly, you can do it for problem and change of view problem/changes by type, approved/unapproved changes, etc. can be viewed. Technician who has the permission to view asset module will have the option to see the asset section in Dashboard. Similarly, technician with access permissions to view the problem and change can also see the change dashboard. Coming to the Home tab, you can see technician view and the availability of the technician. Technician availability chart, as I said, give the complete schedule of which agent is on leave. Apply leave or configure backup technicians, etc. Set options for backup tech where the assignment rule for upcoming requests can be chosen, either by moving requests to unassigned state or assigned to a new tech or do not take action. In my view, you can see the technician summary as well as view the announcements. Thank you for watching.